I've been the PR and the PE.
You've been the PR and the PE?
Yeah.
Did you have a...
I peed in somebody's refrigerator once, which is a dick move.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
How?
I opened the door and I peed.
And you just...
Standard
just
procedure.
thought that this was acceptable behavior?
I thought it was funny.
Because you do an introduction for every podcast that I'm on with you.
Okay.
Poor Man's Podcast.
Yes.
Co-host officially now.
Yes,
which
absolutely.
I love. Chris Hopper, thank you for being on the Dammit Danii podcast for the second time.
I'm so excited to be back.
I'm happy to have you back. I don't even remember what we talked about, to be honest.
I remember talking about microwaves because my girlfriend likes to put her microwave, like the clock on the microwave, like 10 minutes fast all the time. So it feels like she's ahead of the game, I guess. And it was really on my mind that day, and I fixate. So I think that I walked in and I know you have me on your podcast, but this is on my mind. So that's what we're going to talk about.
I feel like that's probably going to end up happening today as well.
So we're doing an intro, or what were you saying?
I mean, so what I don't do is I don't introduce my guests.
Oh, okay.
I've just had this common theme where like I just get into it with the guest, or we have a good conversation going. And you know, sometimes like when the camera's not rolling and you have a good conversation, I'm like, let's just keep going. Yeah. And then I'm like, we're at the end, and I'm like, I never said who you were, what you really do. Yeah. I feel like with you
got my name, so that's important.
I put your name in, so I feel like that's a plus. I did mention Poor Man's Podcast, which is also a plus. Good, yes. So we're off to a great start here.
You hit the main points right off the bat, for sure.
So if anything from this episode, I've hit the main points at the very beginning.
Absolutely. I love it in here. I love this light back here. Although I guess if you're just listening to the podcast, when I talk about all the visuals, it doesn't help, but this light back here, it's awesome.
Thank you. Well, if the listeners listen to my podcast on Spotify, there is video.
Oh, well then absolutely they need to do that.
They need to watch the video as well as listen, you know.
They can watch me fidget the entire time. Because normally when we film the podcast, the Poor Man's Podcast, I'm behind a desk.
You are,
and it's a little bit closer up, so you can't see me like going like that, like rocking.
Just like
I don't realize that I'm doing it. Like, you don't realize how awkward you are until you videotape yourself doing it. And then you edit it over and over again, trying to match the audio with the video over and over again. And then you just see yourself like, why do you keep scratching your nose?
Right.
Why do you keep doing that right now? Why do you keep whatever it is? But
have you ever looked at your posture and you're just like, what?
I feel my posture right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gross.
It's gross. It's like the one thing I notice. I'm like, ew. Like, do I like hold myself, like carry myself like that? Like, it is like a check thing to be like, all right, well, maybe like I'll sit up a little bit straighter.
I've seen some of the like old, I don't know when it was, from forever ago, when posture was like taught in school or whatever, in the schoolhouse on the prairie. But like, I was trying to like reenact the posture, and I'm like, I don't do one of these things. It's like have your back and your chest out.
It just feels so weird.
Up.
I'm just like
people used to balance books on their head, I think, for
posture. I
posture.
could never. Yeah. Could you imagine? Would you be able to do that now?
Flex. Yeah. I could do one. I don't. It depends.
Okay.
If it was like an encyclopedia, like if that's the standard book,
right?
I feel like I could get, depending on how wide it was, I feel like I could get probably 2 or 3. Depending on the speed too. I'm getting way too in depth.
You're really thinking a lot about this, which I do appreciate.
Don't ask me a question if you don't want me to painstakingly go behind the process of why I thought that.
That's what I like about you so much. Like, I feel like you're like on one subject, or if you're really passionate about, I don't know, crows, like you're just on it.
Yeah.
And it's very descriptive, and I love it.
I knew you were going to say crows.
Obviously, I have to bring up the crows.
Yeah.
You know what else I have to bring up?
What's it?
The Nesquik Bunny.
Oh, okay.
I feel like this is going to precede us forever.
Okay. I would be glad to have this conversation a million times over.
We definitely will. Do you think we're going to end up with bunny tattoos?
I could see that happening.
I could as well.
Yeah. If I have a drink, I don't need a drink. It would happen. I would succumb to peer pressure immediately. If it was in front of people, hell yeah.
So sober, you'd be like, all right, Nesquik Bunny, let's go.
I gotta please people. Let's do it.
I'm a little
But I would get him with clothes on, the way he is currently.
I thought you were gonna say the way God intended. I'm like, the way God intends him is to be naked.
Yeah. No, yeah, I guess.
I just feel like it was such a stupid thing that just turned into this whole saga.
Well, yeah. Well, you insisted that the Nesquik Bunny and the Trix Rabbit were like the same thing.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, they're similar. And then I said, but the Nesquik Rabbit wears clothes. And that's where it went on a whole tangent.
Thing.
Yeah.
It
got a little heated.
It did get heated. I was like, this is very
Who
passionate.
was on that episode? Do you remember who the guest was?
Think.
Because I wouldn't go back and listen to that. And I want to know.
And this went on for a few episodes. It wasn't just one guest. Like, I think it was for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, we just continued to bring this up. Was it Abby? Was she the first one?
Could have been. I feel like Abby got a lot of just like shrapnel by being on the podcast.
I feel like she was just like, what in the fuck is going on here?
That's one of my favorite things that I've realized about doing the podcast. It's just that, like, I have different guests on coming in to witness the stupidity that goes on there.
It's like inviting them into like our like world, and it's just like, and I feel like I fit in very well, and there's just a lot of just fuckery going on all the time.
Yeah. A lot of people come in and we're halfway through talking about crows, or like, because I like to split the episodes in 2 parts sometimes, depending on the guest, and we might be referring back to something else. Like we just had learn more on Jonasi, because I pronounced it correctly.
You pronounced it correctly.
He was very excited about that.
He was.
But we had him on. I can't even remember what I was going to say. And there we go. There's the first one. What was I talking about?
There it is. That you had him on. Why am I?
Oh, that's why. Because we split it in half, and we were talking about appetizers, the best kind of appetizers you would get in the first half, and then in the second half, I kind of asked him the same question, but he had no idea what we were talking about.
He had no clue. He's like, "Are you talking about a meal?"
But the listeners got it, so I feel like the listener kind of was in on the joke, and that's kind of what we want. The listener enjoy it with us.
Exactly. That's all that matters. I love the setup of how you have the show now with the 2 segments.
Yeah.
I just think it flows so well.
Well, every week it's just like I try to do something slightly different, like to make it more professional. Whether it be like we had Dustin Dowling on before, and I actually have him on next week. Well, depending on when you hear this, it could have been last week or whatever it was.
Whatever
I had him on
at
some point, but it doesn't matter because it was the last time I had him on. And he was talking about the stuff to do in Pittsburgh segment we used to do. And he was like, it sounds really good, but if you had a little bit of music underneath it, it would sound a little bit better. It would bring it out. And I did that, and it sounded so much better. And then we did like music segments with the beer part, or the new news with Dani Kaufman.
I love it.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
So, I like having all of that, or the ending, and then we have like sound drops and things. And just like the more the podcast grows, the more personal it gets kind of. We have the personal touches. We have the sound drops, not just from a famous movie you might know, but from somebody on the show. I have pages of Shay drops. She doesn't have to be present for the podcast to be part of the podcast.
It's like she's there.
Yeah. So we can have a conversation depending on what we want her to say, basically.
Exactly.
AI Shay. Shay-I guess.
Shay-I, love it.
There we go. That's why you gotta listen. That's why you listen to podcasts.
You gotta listen to the podcast.
Like yeah.
If the sound drop that you sent me does not make it to the podcast, I'm gonna be so upset.
I'll make it.
I like peer pressured you into taking a screenshot.
Yeah.
Whole operation went down.
Yeah. Well, when I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing the video, and we have it set up with all these different iPhones, and it's really cool how it works, but I do it live because it's so much work to go back and edit, and I'd rather just prep it a lot, because I kind of like preview the show in my head and plan it out and have all the slides and stuff ready, so I do that as well as I can. But that's all on my iPad that goes to that, and I went to do the screenshot, and it went back to the home screen, and like all the cameras disconnected. This was like as we're about to hit record. That's what I say, Dani, you sack of shit.
Because like, take a screenshot. This would be such a cool behind the scenes post.
Yeah, and then I was like, I don't remember how to take a screenshot, so I did it wrong. So you had nothing to do with it. I fucked it up.
It was my suggestion, so like I totally understand it.
60-40 your fault, we'll say.
It's fine. I'll accept it. It's okay. I feel like I remember after a podcast we did together and we had some drinks afterwards. We were just talking about podcasting and just our shows and like combining things and doing stuff together. Like, I just feel like we work really well together.
I agree. Yeah.
I feel like we have the same ideas about things. We're inspired by podcasting.
Yeah.
We're on this open mic journey that I'm not completely sold on.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was just thinking about. Yeah.
Now we're on this other endeavor that's just, it's precious.
The last mic I did went well.
It did.
So I am just like, not that I'm avoiding mics because I've just been so busy doing this show that we're going to be doing coming up.
Yeah,
but
which we will talk about.
I've been so focused on that. Like a week ago when we did the podcast and the mic after, and I
it's a lot.
I was dead the next day. I'm like getting too old.
Yeah.
It hurts me to say that, but yeah. But doing these mics, it's been fun, but it's the last one I did, I had a positive taste in my mouth, so I think I'm kind of avoiding breaking my bubble.
Yeah, I broke the bubble.
That's not even an expression, I don't think.
Broke the bubble. I feel like I hear a new expression on like every episode of this podcast that I do. Yeah. I told you about my traumatic mic that I invited you out to, and I'm like, thank God you didn't come. I almost was gonna text you and be like, just turn around. Just don't come. It's so bad.
I was trying to leave work early, and I was like, my table won't leave. I want to get out. It was a blessing.
It was a blessing. And that's the thing. Like, I do think that these like bad mics make you better, but they just suck when you're actually doing them.
Well, yeah, the mics are different in the fact that it could be a bad mic because no one's listening, or it could be a bad mic because nobody's physically there, and then what are you really doing?
You're just talking to yourself on stage. Yeah. And people that are just not amused by you at all.
You're just working that muscle of nobody caring. And I think you're working the muscle of like becoming more dead inside, I think.
Right.
As weird as that is to say.
I was like, if someone shoots me right now, like it would be really ideal. Yeah. Like I was like hoping for a shooter. Like that's how I felt like when I was up there by myself. And then I just wanted it to be over, and I was looking for the host of the mic, and I'm like, where are you? Like I'm done. Like tap out. Like please let me leave. Like I've never been so happy to see someone in my entire life. I was like, this is the worst 6 minutes of my life.
Well, oh God, I can. This is gonna change the subject, but as we're talking, I can feel my posture, like just my shoulders up around my ears,
just tensing up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so bad. But yeah, like you were saying, if nobody's there, it's just so bad.
It's so bad. It's good. It's a good learning experience, but like it's bad. Like oh God. So I need to get to another one to like get it out of my I need to stop thinking about it because I literally think about it and I just cringe. Yeah, I'm like ew.
Well, as you were talking about working together, we did the double mic at Willow.
Oh, that was so fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
But it was very.
That was fun.
It was fun. I don't know. Like, I guess I didn't know what to expect. And then what did we get? Like, it was like 3 W's. We got West Virginia. Okay, so it was topics to talk about. Yeah. Waterfalls.
So it was 2 people, one up at a time. You kind of pulled a random thing out of a box it was like a plastic bin. Not that matters, but it's in my mind.
We pulled it out of a cardboard box.
Yeah, whatever it was. But they like pulled the papers out, and we pulled it out, and it was waterfalls. Which was rough.
That was a tough one. Yeah. And then West Virginia. And then we got white people. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. I think I immediately went with what's not to like.
Yeah, you did.
And one guy in the front like laughed too hard.
It was like a little much. And we're like, sir, like we get it. And that was the night of the heckler.
Yeah. That's why everybody else got off the hook.
Yes.
I say.
When we're first up, like after the example round. With Mark and Chuck. Yeah. They went up first. Yeah. So like the 2 tallest people like in America went up first, and then it was us. Yeah. And then we're up there, and like I feel like it went okay. Like it was good. Like it was fun. It was good. We get off, and then the lady at the bar just was wild.
Yeah. And she ended up I'd say blacking out, right? Somebody had to take her home.
Oh, she was for sure blacked out. I wonder what the status is of her and her fiance.
Yeah, we'll have to follow up on that.
I would like to know. Oh, I meant to ask. Oh, yes. Who escorted her? Who took her home?
Her name's Alyssa.
Alyssa? Yeah. I meant to ask her when we saw her last time, like what happened.
Yeah.
I need the juicy hot tea. Like I need to know what's going on.
Yeah. We were saying that we needed to bring that up and then didn't.
Yeah, I think I said to you.
Which is a common theme.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll say something like, oh, remember that.
Yeah. If I don't write it down, I have like just random notes in my phone throughout my phone. Like I set reminders like, remember to actually pay your bill today, like pay your phone bill, or not that like I don't, but like if I don't type it, like I won't do it that day, or like I have a million clocks if I have to go pick my kids up from the bus, like at 3 o'clock, 2:55, 2:50, 2:45, 2:42, 2:40, 2:38, 2:37, 2:36. Like it's
35 alarms, just continuously
it's the same
going
way
off.
For waking up in the morning, but yeah, I just have notes of things I want to remember, and then or something I want to say on the podcast, and we get there, and then I just ramble about something else.
I love it. Before we start podcasting, like I do it still on mine too. You'll look at me and you're like, how do you podcast? Like, have I done this before? And like, I feel the same way. It's just like you like, or like, what am I doing? And then once you get in the groove of it, it's fine. But it's just like the beginning is just like, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. What are we going to talk about?
That's how the beginning of every show, when I hit the button or Cheech hits the button and it's the beginning song and I hear like the that's such a bad impression of the beginning of the show if you've ever heard it.
It sounds nothing like that.
I'll add that to the new beginning. But
please do.
At the beginning, it's just every time I'm like, I have to say things now. What am I doing? Luckily, I begin the show essentially the same way every week. That was rough for me to say. Jeez. But I begin it the same way every week, and that kind of gives me some time to get into it and breathe. And then hopefully somebody says something. Usually, if you say anything, I can talk about it, like some form of it, even if it's not what you have to say. You're like, you can talk about pianos, and I was like, pianos have 88 keys. Patrick Kane was 88 on the Blackhawks. He just got traded. And then I'll talk about the New York Rangers, and it's just, but it fills time.
It does. It
and then
does.
We get to a point eventually.
It does. And when you have other people that can kind of play off like the random things too, like it makes it so much easier.
Well, it helps too because well, in the beginning of April, it'll be 2 years that we've been doing the podcast. And like the week before, it's like our 100th episode or something like that.
Fuck yeah.
But it's nice because like you've been doing it for a couple months now, full time. But I've known you from before that. Cheech has been doing it for about a year, a little over a year now. Shay's been doing it for almost like since the beginning. So we have that kind of relationship where we know how to talk to each other and kind of feed off each other. Hopefully, sometimes certain people got it dead in the middle that I won't mention names, Cheech. But yes, and all I have to say.
Yes.
I love you.
Yes,
love
and
you.
not no.
Yes, and.
Stop.
But yeah. So how's your experience since coming on full time?
I love it. Yeah. I look forward to every Monday.
Good.
There's so many differences between like what I'm doing here and like what we're doing on Poor Man's Podcast. Like when you asked me to be a part of it, I was like, absolutely. Like I was so excited. Yeah. And I felt like I would like drop hints. I'm like, if you need somebody, like I would love to be a part of it. Because you have such a good idea going with it. There's so many good segments. Like it feels like it's almost like, I think it's more like a radio show in a podcast form, which I love.
That's kind of what I wanted. I love like the DV morning show. You grew up on that. Or I always liked Adam Carolla. Like I'd listen to him when I would run. And I liked his podcast. That's what really got me into podcasting. And his show was based off like a morning radio show kind of thing with like a news girl and a guy that does the sound drops and stuff. And that's kind of how I wanted to build this show. I like having those segments. So I kind of wanted the first half of the show to kind of be like a morning show, and then the second half to kind of be like a late night show where you kind of have the comedian come on, you interview him. And I've enjoyed it so far. But every episode, you kind of have this goal or this idea, and sometimes they're here early, and you're like, you know what? We're just going to throw them in from the beginning.
Right.
They can have a beer. I brought extra beer. They can taste the beer, and they can judge it on this ridiculous system that we use.
The Guy Fieri scale.
Yeah.
Which I love. But I feel like you make the guests feel so welcome. It's relaxed. It's very like comfortable. And you can tell once the guest sits down and they talk to us for a few minutes, they just relax.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun show. And I feel like there's been such growth and progression in the show even since I was on it the first time. And when I listen to it, like I just feel like it's heading in such a great direction.
No, thank you. That's so nice to hear. I mean, I'm glad you're part of it to go in that direction. But that's the most important thing to me. Anytime we have anybody on, it's like, I hope they have a great experience. Like, I want them to come on. If the show sucks, I hope it was because of me. Like, I hope they had a great time regardless. I want that experience to be great. So they, when they see it or they talk to somebody, they're like, yeah, that was a good experience. I enjoyed that. They were great to me. And I think what helps with that is I've worked in a restaurant for the last 7 or 8 years. I'll do parties and, I like being a host in that sense as well.
Yeah.
Come in, have a beer. I want to get you a drink. Sit down. I want you to be comfortable. We'll talk about something. I'll have questions ready. Although anymore, I've been more comfortable in just not doing that. But I want them to be comfortable. I'll have them ready. I'm comfortable more every single week with taking control of that. And the more I do that, the more comfortable they seem to be. I mean, it depends on the guest a lot, the give and take from them. But it's been an enjoyable experience for me, obviously, if I'm still doing it, I guess.
I feel like you've had your notes, and I've definitely noticed you've been going off of them more. Like, you don't look at them as much anymore. You're very in the moment with, like, the guest or, like, us or, like, the show just kind of goes in a good progression. And, like, I feel like it flows really well now, too. Yeah. Like, it's not, like, we go from one thing to another thing to another thing, and it just has such a good rhythm. Yeah.
A lot of the time, the notes that I have are for the video. So it's like, okay, the pink is the intro, so we'll talk about that. And then when the color changes, the screen's going to change kind of thing. I'm very visual, so I have, like, shapes and colors and things. So, like, if I see this big paragraph, I won't necessarily read it. But if I see it's orange, okay, that means the Beers of the Week is on. Yeah. So just come up on that. And then I have notes on that from when the slide comes up, I can see it and I don't need to, or I know what it is. But, yeah, more often than not, when I write it, I remember it better because I wrote it down, and then I won't refer back to it ever.
I think it's a memory thing, too. Like, sometimes, like, I like to write stuff down. Like, I keep a notebook. Like, I didn't do it for this episode because I feel like I know you so well, and I knew what I wanted to talk about. That was like, I don't need it. But I do like to keep notes because I feel like when I write it down, I remember it more. Or, like, with jokes, like, I'll write them out, and then it seems to stick a little bit better. Like, I like writing versus, like, typing, even though typing is just so much fucking easier. It's so much easier.
There's something, it's not like it's inauthentic, but I don't know. I like the physical act of, like, physically writing something. And, like, when I do that, and if I'm writing a joke or something or attempting to, as I'm writing it, sometimes I'll think of something else and I'll, like, word it differently. I'm like, oh, that's better. And then I'll go back and I'm like, oh, wait. But, like, because I wrote it, I feel like at least me personally, the way my brain works, because I physically wrote it, I remember it better than if I typed it up. It would kind of,
because you can type something and forget it.
Right. I mean, half the people type while they're driving. Like, you don't need to
I did that
be
on the way
fully
here.
aware of anything anymore. But, like, if I'm writing, like, it's hard to write while I'm driving.
It's so much work.
Yeah. It's difficult, to say the least.
And I think that's, like, why it, like, sticks so much. I'm going to ask you this question. You can keep it very broad or you don't have to answer.
I can't wait.
But within the last year, can you describe maybe, like, an experience with a guest where they kind of exceeded your expectations and you're like, wow, like, you don't have to be super specific, but, like, I know we've talked about this where we'll have somebody on and we're like, I don't know about this episode, and it ends up being one of the best episodes you've had, or vice versa when you've had somebody on and then you're like, this isn't what I expected.
I can immediately say this, and I hope it doesn't sound bad. Dave Stewart, and because I just didn't know him at all going into it. I didn't know him at all, and I saw him with you, and you were like, he was awesome, and I was like, yeah, I'll have him on. He was awesome.
He's fucking incredible.
I liked him a lot.
Yes.
I would love to have him back on.
Dave's great.
I didn't know him before, and if he wasn't on this, I probably wouldn't have known him, and I can't remember exactly how I talked to him, but I probably reached out to him like I do with a lot of people, and I'm like, yeah, come on, and it was. I think he was on with somebody else too.
It was Chris Nakis.
It was Chris Nakis. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I had him on, and I did another double person. I think it was Ronnie Fleming and Eric Nesby, because they were all on at the same time. Not that I could mix them up really, but like, yeah, they're different. But no, Dave was awesome. I haven't had like a guest recently that just was flat or whatever.
I feel like the last, like, at least for since I've been on consistently, I feel like everyone's been good.
Yeah.
And I feel like
even Abby Elias, who's just on. She's another one that I just didn't know her personally at all.
Yeah.
And then she came on and she was super easy to talk to.
Those are the ones that are so surprising. And shout out to Dave because he gave me my first show after he was on Poor Man's podcast. So that was the push.
Oh, wow.
That was the push.
I don't want to take entire credit, but yeah.
But you can take credit. It's just the weird world of podcasting. Podcasting puts you, I think, in connection with people that like you just wouldn't normally sit down and have a conversation with, which is why I like it so much and I enjoy it.
If somebody would have told you like 3 years ago, like this situation right now would be happening, like I'd be like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I hate talking to people. That's so uncomfortable for me. I don't like to have a conversation. And I feel like that's part of the reason I got into it is like to overcome that.
Mm-hmm. Same. Like I wasn't very social. I didn't like talking to people. Like doing this would have scared me a few years ago. And now doing it is just wild. And with stand up, like I had a huge fear of public speaking. Like so much so that like senior year did cyber school because I didn't want to do my senior project where I'd have to stand up in front of people and talk for 25 minutes. Yeah. So crazy.
I remember that my senior year we were supposed to give like a long presentation and like I somehow like it went long and a couple people weren't able to go up and I was one of the lucky people who didn't have to present. But,
you lucked out.
But I remember I was in a college class. I had to take a speech class or whatever, and that terrified me. But my teacher was really cool, so it made it a lot more comfortable having a good teacher. And I remember getting up there, and it was like early, but I was like, I'm gonna try to make people laugh. Like that's just what I'm gonna do. So I did it was something that we were passionate about. It was like a cause that people should support. Like we had to be persuasive or something like that.
Okay.
And mine was like donating blood. Like you should donate blood. But I can't remember, I don't remember the set that I did exactly, but like I got a couple laughs and I was like hooked on that. And then it was a couple years after, I'd podcasted before with my brothers and stuff because I like doing that. But it always kind of scared me and like stand up terrifies me. And like, that's one thing, like, I don't know. Just my life the last like 2 years, I've been more like, if it scares me, I need to go do it and conquer that fear because like, I'm not going to live in fear kind of thing.
Exactly. I mean,
as as lame as that might sound, but like
follow your dreams, do the things.
But like, that's really I think that's what separates people that do things and don't do things, are literally physically like doing things or not doing them. Like, if you want to be the person who does that, then go do it and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And like, maybe it'll work and maybe it won't, but like, it won't work if you don't try.
Exactly. You got to push yourself to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what life's about? Like doing things, trying new things.
I remember watching this movie, what was it? Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep, I think. It's like in the early 90s. It was a really good movie. Like, from watching it, it was like, they died and they went back, and it was just like these like moments in their life where they act in fear. Like, why did they act in fear? And like throughout the movie, they overcome that, and it's just like, it was kind of inspiring to me. Like, I don't want that. Right. I don't want to look back on my life thinking like I didn't do that because I was afraid of what people thought. And so like that kind of pushed me to do it, and I'm very happy, and it like gave me more confidence. Right. The more I do it. And like stand up, it did like scare me to be in front of people and bomb, but like I'm surprised at how quickly like I'm okay with not caring. Yeah. Not that I don't care at all, because it's way better to get a laugh than not get a laugh.
It is so much better.
But like I thought it would crush my soul for like the first like year I do it. And like on like, I was up the fourth time and I was like, oh, okay, I don't really care what you think. I just, they're not listening to me anyway, so why should I care what somebody who's not listening thinks?
Exactly. I think that's the big fear too. Like, you get up there and you don't want to say something stupid, or you're scared, like, or at least for me, like, I'm like, people are going to judge me for like these jokes that I'm telling. Like, is it fucking stupid? Like, you just like try to get a gauge on it. And then you're like, well, nobody really cares, and they're going to treat me the same as they did when I first got on stage. Yeah. So like, it just doesn't matter.
And it's like one of those things, like when you were in school and you'd be so terrified to like go up in front of the class and give your report, like I was just saying, or you were just saying. Nobody is listening to your report. No. Like, were you listening to Brad's report when he went up and was talking about chromosomes and shit? Like, no, you didn't care at all. No. You were on your phone, or you were doing homework for your next period. Like, but you have this so in your mind that it's like, it's the end of the world kind of thing. Yeah. Like, if it goes up and it goes well, like, that's awesome. But like, don't let it be the end of the world, I guess.
No, it's got to push yourself. I guess got to keep doing it.
That's what this guy says. Yeah. Since I have it all. Yeah.
We're just going to podcast and do stand up and be out till 1 a.m. It's fine. Who needs to sleep, Chris? Not us.
Don't even get me started on that. That'll go down a dark rabbit hole.
We don't need to sleep. Yeah. Speaking of new things, let's talk about the live show, because this is like uncharted territory.
Yes.
It's happening. I can't believe it's in 2 weeks. So when this comes out, it'll be a week.
Oh, it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm so focused on like putting it together kind of thing, or like talking to people or figuring out how to do any of it, because it's the first time I'm doing a lot of it. Mm-hmm. That like time going by doesn't make sense to me. Like it doesn't register like, oh, it's this far away.
Yeah.
And maybe it should, and maybe it's hitting me right now, and maybe we're seeing it on camera, the terror that's going through me. But
come to the live show, I'm terrified.
Yeah. But that's what I was thinking. I was like, you know what? We have Aaron Kleirer coming on, which is incredible, because it started out, we had Eric Nesby. I was like, absolutely, hell yes.
Yes.
We had Jeff Fieldhouse, who used to be my neighbor when I was in Bellevue.
That's crazy.
He was always like, if somebody wasn't there, Jeff was coming on. And if somebody canceled on Babyface Assassin, I would walk up and be like, yep, here we go.
It's a perfect situation.
It was awesome. But Jeff's awesome. Eric is awesome. And then Aaron, I was talking to him, and he was like, yeah, I would do some time. I was like, are you kidding me? He just got back from touring with Brad Williams. Like, that's incredible. And now he's performing with the Poor Man's Podcast. That,
it's incredible. Like when you told me that, I was like, this is like, and I know I used it to like advertise, but like this is like an improv show. This is a Pittsburgh improv show. Yeah. These 3 comedians. Eric is on the wall.
Yeah.
He opened for Matt Rife. Like that's insanity.
Yeah. So we have him that opened for Matt Rife. We have Aaron who opened for Brad Williams. Like we have these guys, and I'm just like, I hope I don't ruin it somehow. Like I just need to be Alex Smith. Like I just need to manage the game. Just make sure I don't turn the ball over, hand it to the running back, and pick up chunk plays here and there. And I'm like, if we just have this go smooth, and these guys, like, it's incredible. And it's $5. It is on a Wednesday. Like, what else are you going to do? This is awesome.
Seriously, what else are you doing on a Wednesday? Yeah. Listen to this podcast, and then you go to the live show. That's what you're doing on a Wednesday.
But it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it as much as it's going to terrify me. I'm going to be terrified on the day of, because I'm going to be like, somebody's not going to, when we went to Scarps.
I'm waiting for this.
When we went to Scarps, the best joke I had, the bartender yelled over and shit on the punchline, man. And I'm just like,
wait,
there's a
what?
bar in the back. Whatever joke I was saying.
I was focused on taking pictures of you, I will be honest.
Oh,
I was trying to get good angles.
Well, you sound like everyone else out there. Yeah. The paparazzi that they were holding back. Ron had to hold him at the door.
I figured, like I wanted to get good Instagram photos for
you.
Thank
That's
you. That's my
job.
job.
I appreciate it. That was the most important thing, as I said going into the show that night, was to get pictures.
Yes.
But I was saying something. It was one of the jokes that I've been saying that has gotten a laugh consistently. So I've been trying it out because it was the first time there. I was like, I'll try it in this room. And as I was saying it, the bartender came out and was like, buffalo wings. And like nobody heard it.
No.
So like I have that terror that like I'm going to say something and then just it's going to be a dead room because somebody in the back is ordering a Michelob Ultra too loud.
Right. And then it'll be a thing.
I'm going to fixate on things that'll never happen.
I don't think it's going to be that way. I do think we may have a little bit of a rowdy crowd.
Yeah.
I do think that's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to be like ruining like what's happening on stage. Like I think it's going to be very positive.
I think everybody there is more than comfortable handling themselves. At least the comedians, and I feel like my second drink, I'm going to be pretty good.
You're going to be fine. I'll be fine. Yeah. Shay will be fine.
Shay will fight someone. So,
literally. She will dive into the crowd, which I am mildly concerned about.
She'll take some people out for sure.
I feel like we need to get you like a little bit tipsy before it starts. Like, just a good level. Like not like, too much, but like just a good.
Well, that is another just awesome thing about doing the podcast, where we do the podcast at 565 Live and Bellevue. They have the grill 565 upstairs. So it's like we get there, we'll set up. And then we'll have time, and they have, like, food upstairs. There's a bar. Their bartender upstairs, Becca, is awesome.
We love Becca.
I was playing Uno with Becca, waiting for them to open the door last week. But it's so cool just having all that like in that whole facility, and they'll have that on that Wednesday, and
it's such a good spot.
Yeah,
I'm so excited
cool.
for the live show. It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, I am. The more I think about it, the more excitement it is. That's what I'm trying to do. When I get this fear, I'm like turning it into excitement. Yeah.
Exactly. Fear is excitement.
Yeah.
So March 29th. It's 7.
Doors at 7. We'll start at 7:30, and hopefully it's great.
It's gonna be fucking great.
It'll be great.
It's gonna be great.
It's already great. I think it's great.
All right. So I am ready to hear your damn it moment.
Okay.
And we couldn't remember the last one. We had to like go over it because I was like, I don't even remember which one you shared.
Yeah, I think it was when I met the bartender where I worked now, and we kind of like posted from a restaurant, and we were meeting everybody from there, and I like threw up all over the side of the bar we were at, like in the like the window, so everybody on the inside and outside was watching me. And then you mentioned the one where I drank my throw up. Mm-hmm. This is all stuff you can listen to on Poor Man's Podcast, by the way.
Love a good bomb story.
We bring this story up like once a month, if not once every 6 weeks.
I love it every time I hear it.
But it was like I was hammered with Shay. I like puked in this cup, and I was like, I need to take it back before anybody notices. And I just did, and like a hero, man.
Oh,
and I'm not, if I was ashamed of it, nobody would know. Well, Shay would know. But I wear it as a badge of honor, man.
It is a badge of honor.
That puke had like 12% ABV.
And you just took it right back. You're like,
man.
Listen, keeping the buzz.
It was going to make the rest of my drink warm if I let it sit, man.
Oh, God.
The more I describe it, the more I figured out how to make people cringe.
Yeah. We love a good vom story here.
But I guess my damn it moment this time.
Does it include vomit?
No, it'll include a different kind of fluid, I guess.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I won't say my brother's younger than me, but we'll say in the story he was for sure 21.
Okay.
And
legal.
He was absolutely 21, but I went to bartending school, and everybody in my restaurant or any restaurant will make fun of me for that because they're, you are okay. I know it's cheesy or whatever, but I think
don't
it's
you go
awesome,
to bartending school?
I was, and I will tell you this. I was valedictorian of my bartending class.
Wow.
And I got a T-shirt for elite bartending. Okay?
I love that.
So anyway, I had these note cards with all these drinks, and I was trying to memorize all these drinks over and over again. And it's weird because my bartending class, the class schedule is the exact same of my DUI class. It's ironic. That's a side note. But
were they conflicting?
Yeah, no, it was years after. But so anyway, I had all these index cards that I was trying to memorize, and I bought all this liquor, and my brother and I were going to try them out. So we were going to play beer pong, but instead of playing with beer, we played with margaritas. This is a
oh God!
This is a Godfather, which is like an obscure drink.
What the fuck is that?
Jeez, what is a Godfather? I believe it's Scotch and Amaretto. But there was just like drinks you would make. Like I would make an Alabama Slammer or something like that, or I would make a Long Island iced tea, or it would be like a Adios motherfucker. They're like obscure drinks too, or there was White Russian. So like you have all these drinks, and then some have gin and tonic. Like some have carbonation, some have cream, some have a bunch of different things. So we ended up playing, and it was bad news. My brother got completely hammered. So my parents were upstairs, and I didn't want to bring attention to my brother, who was absolutely legal age of drinking at the time that he was drinking.
Yes.
Not that it would have been an issue legally, clearly.
Right.
So I didn't want to bring it to their attention, and I decided we would pull out the couch downstairs, and we'll sleep downstairs that night. We don't want him to cause a ruckus upstairs. So I pull out the couch, and I slept on that. He slept on the floor. So we both go to sleep, and this is probably 3 a.m. I'm like waking up. I'm like, this is warm, man.
Oh no!
I'm like, I'm hearing this. I'm like, is it raining? Is it raining? What the hell? And I like see the shadow, like at the foot of the couch. And I like turn the light on, and my brother's pissing on my legs.
No.
Yeah. And I'm like, damn it, literally, it's a damn it moment. So I'm like, first off, I don't like being pissed on. Okay.
I mean, does anyone?
Yeah,
I mean,
certain
maybe.
people.
I don't know.
We won't get it.
That's
I
another
won't
conversation.
Make that joke on air. But yeah. So I was obviously upset about being urinated on.
Understandable.
But I didn't want my parents to find out that hammered, legally aged, my brother was peeing all over me and the couch and all that. So I had to clean all that up silently. Get my brother, cleaned up. I'm like, oh my God, you're fucking 21. You should know better. But we had to get him changed and all this stuff. And then the next day he's hungover. I'm all hungover too. And it was just bad. We're like, hopefully nobody pulls the couch out,
Yeah, like no one
until those sheets get cleaned. But yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've been on both sides, so I've been the peer and the PE.
You've been the peer and the PE?
Yeah.
Did you have a?
I peed in somebody's refrigerator once, which is a dick move.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
How?
I opened the door and I peed.
And you just
standard
just
procedure.
That this was acceptable behavior.
I thought it was funny, and I was right. Most of the people there thought it was funny.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, it was a wild ride until COVID happened and really slowed things down for the good. But yeah, that's why restaurant industry is wild. But yeah, I remember peeing in his refrigerator. But yeah, that's something.
I'm still on this.
Yeah, no, climbing up on top of people's cars and stuff. Yeah.
And
it's more of an attention thing than a urine thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just finding like obscure random like places to pee.
I gotta pee. What's the most obnoxious way to do that?
On top of a car, in a refrigerator.
Right.
I mean, obviously, all things.
Yeah. It was funny at the time for sure.
I don't think I've ever peed in a random spot. I was like trying to think. I just have vomit stories. Like I just have random I've thrown up at the bar before, which I know is like a big no-no.
Like on the bar?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've done that. But that was after I turned 21. So in my defense, I was not a seasoned drinker.
Right.
I really didn't start drinking until I turned 21.
I didn't drink very much until I was older too, and then I made up for lost time for sure.
I definitely made up for last time. Like I'm ready to hang my boots up a little bit. I think. I think I've done enough.
I'm at the point now where I'm not drinking to get hammered. I enjoy the taste of beer, so I like. Tasting different IPAs. Surprise the white guy with the backwards hat and the beard likes the IPA.
That's so surprising.
Yeah. But I like a hazy IPA. But I like trying the different local beers because I really like to kind of spotlight Pittsburgh and because there's really awesome places locally. So we have Michelle, the Pittsburgh foodie girl who comes on every month.
Love Michelle.
She spotlights local restaurants and things. Every single week we do our beer of the week. And we taste a beer from a local brewery. And it's cool to spot Hitchhiker or Cinderlands or, there's a million other.
I know Trogs isn't super local, but I love Trogs.
Yeah, but that's the middle of the state. Log Yard that we love. Log Yard's probably my favorite brewery. They're in northern PA and Kane. They're incredible too. But I wouldn't have known any of that stuff without doing the podcast. I wouldn't have known any of these people. I wouldn't have known you. I wouldn't have known, a lot of people I've come in contact with who have made my life more enjoyable and more thought-provoking and definitely more entertaining.
We love podcasting.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many different ways that affects your life. And I feel like it's all positive. I love doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so fun.
It's one of those things if you're not having fun, then why are you doing it kind of thing.
Exactly.
It's something that you get so much from it. And it's not even what you record, like we were saying. The best conversations every week come after we're done recording the podcast.
Yep. I feel like the hangout at the end is the best part.
That's the same with the mics.
Mm-hmm. It is. Just socializing and hanging out with the comics.
It's really I have to stop talking to these people to go fucking talk to people who don't care for 5 minutes.
I'm almost I
can't believe I'm pulled away for 5 minutes to go do this.
No, it's I'm talking about random things. I don't want to leave this conversation.
Yeah. You understand. Trevor Austin understands Mighty Ducks D2.
Exactly.
They don't. The people on Scarp stage, they don't care.
They just don't understand.
If Coach Bombay sold out and went corporate, man. They don't care.
They just don't give a shit. It's just not the same.
It's not the same, man.
You're robbing us. It's ridiculous. You go for the open mic, but not really for the open mic.
For the people who do like the Mighty Ducks. Gunnar Stahl. This is a fun fact.
This is, yes.
I'm going to drop some knowledge. Gunnar Stahl in D2, who played for Iceland, is Scooter, the goalie in the third one.
Interesting.
Who plays for Eden Hall.
I feel like
varsity team. To be
varsity?
Fair. Yeah, there's varsity and junior varsity. You haven't seen D3, Dani?
No.
God, spoiler alert. I know.
I was just about to say, I feel like I need to refresh myself because this comes up quite often.
Well, JV, they had Goldberg and Julia Cat Gaffney. I mean, come on. What? Come on, Dani. This is embarrassing for both of us now.
Together. I watched the Penguin thing, which, I felt like it was a nice meet in the middle.
That, you know what? That's more than I can say about a lot of people. That's I ramble about a lot of stupid things because it entertains me, and I feel like it's somewhat entertaining to some point that people can relate to, at least the premise that I'm saying. But we were watching just the Penguin Town on Netflix, and it's just crazy the drama behind the Penguins. There's divorce. There's bullying. There's murder.
It's quite scandalous. When you said it, I was like, no way. And then I'm like watching it, and I'm like, what is going on? And like I was just intrigued, like by all the things that were happening with these penguins.
Yeah. And they just roam the city in South Africa.
I know.
They like walk through people's houses and they're just cool with it. Like I think I'd be cool with it.
Yeah,
but they
sure.
do show how they shit. They shit like a shotgun almost.
Ew.
It's just like, yeah. We won't get too into the nitty gritty on that. You can picture that.
Yeah, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd be like out.
It's like if you had a creamer container that couldn't open the whole way and you squeezed it, and
the worst.
Just quick,
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that.
We got that. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Penguin Town was 10 out of 10 though. Highly recommend.
Aside from that.
Yeah.
Aside from the penguin shit, it's like 10 out of 10.
For sure.
All right, Chris, tell the people where they can find you.
Wow, where can they find me? I guess on Instagram is the best place. The most people in our demographic will follow me on Instagram at Poor Man's Podcast 412, which I must stress is different than a different Poor Man's Podcast because I just got a message in my inbox on that saying cease and desist kind of thing. Like, there's underage kids in the video that didn't okay this. And I was like, that's not me.
What?
Yeah, if you look up, I think it's Poor Man Podcast Reacts, not to drop it, on here, but if you found the guy on there, you're not going to mix him up for me. I promise you that. Okay?
I will look it up.
Yeah, so I was like, that's a different guy. And he was like, well, don't you represent him? And I was like, I don't know who you are, man. Unless you are Chuck Lewis's dad. No, I did not. But yeah, it was Chuck Lewis's dad, I guess. So
oh, that kind of makes sense.
But no, they did mix us up, and I was like, it wasn't me. So Poor Man's Podcast 412. You can find us on Facebook, on TikTok. I occasionally do that when I have time to do things. It's so hard to do that.
I know.
But yeah, find me on that stuff,
and
I guess. YouTube, yes. Thank you, Dani. If you click through the link tree on Instagram, it's probably the best. But yeah, subscribe. I'm like, follow, like, okay, it's subscribe on that. Subscribe on YouTube, and you can watch it every Monday around 6:30. We live stream it, and the podcast is out by Tuesday. So on all the places that you find podcasts.
All the places. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. I love it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being part of it.
Thank you for being on my podcast.
Sure.
I greatly appreciate it.
It's a blast.
Just two podcasters doing the thing.
Yeah. Couple podcasters podcasting.
Podcasters podcasting. Love it. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next week.